Hello Pioneers, in the last episode of our MEGAFACTORY build series, we brought SAM ore into our base and experimented with diagonal designs for our first manufacturer building. This episode, we tackle a massive 4-in-1 build to process all our steel into iron plates, rods, beams, and pipes. Instead of one giant structure, we go for a campus-style design, balancing complexity with scalability. Can we make this multi-building setup both efficient and beautiful? Let's find out. Before we start out, I just wanted to apologize to my regular viewers for the scheduling of the episodes. If I've been a little bit behind, it's because I got my wisdom teeth out recently and I couldn't speak for the past few days properly, so I had to obviously take a break from recording, but we're back now and hopefully I can get back to my one episode every 2-day schedule. If you recall where we were up to, we were trying to make these SAM fluctuators last time and we got stuck on steel pipe because we're not currently producing any steel products. However, we have had our iron setup done for quite some time over on the other side. To refresh your memories, here's our iron processing building. We're currently processing away 2,400, we are outputting 2,400 iron ingots, yep, and they are being used to produce steel, or 800 of which is being used to produce steel, and 800 iron turns into 1200 steel, which is a full Mark 6 belt. So we look at our steel ingot recipe. The one we're using is this solid iron recipe, which turns iron into steel at a 2:3 ratio. So the 800 that we're using is turning into 1200 steel. So we've got 1200 steel and 1600 iron available at our disposal. And we're gonna tackle away all of our steel products. Now, steel products and iron products are actually very interesting once you have all the alternate recipes. I know normally, if you guys are just starting out the game, if you look at your basic iron plate, well, iron, you would turn into iron plate and iron rod normally, right? So if you look at the recipes, there's a steel variation for both. That's actually a lot more efficient because iron rod goes into iron plate at 3:2, which is not great. It's not that bad, but it's not the best. But if you add a little bit of steel in there, it goes from 1:3, which is, you know, exponentially better. In terms of using up the steel, well, iron turns into steel at a, you know, compounding ratio as well. So you can see it's much more efficient to use the steel recipe whenever we have it. And the iron rod recipe follows a similar thing where if you use the regular one, you get 1:1. But if you use the steel version, you get 1:4. And remember, iron is turning into steel at 2:3. So you're actually getting much more bang for your buck by using the steel recipe. So I've picked out the recipes that we're going to make using our steel products. There's 4. There's the iron plate, the iron rod, which I've just shown you. We're also going to be making steel, the actual steel components. So the steel beam and pipes. So the steel beam, we'll start with the steel pipe because that's the easy one. There is an efficient way to make this in a foundry, and you can mix in a little bit of, you can use less steel to get more pipe out if you just use up a bit of your concrete. And there's also the steel beam, which follows the same pattern. If you throw in a little bit of concrete, you can get more bang for your buck using the steel. So we're going to go for those 4 recipes and we're going to make all of our steel products. So we need a factory that can tackle 4 different recipes and scale up accordingly. So I'm going to start a new section right over here with where the steel is going to be produced. So we got 1200 steel coming out and it's going to flow out this way and then turn into some factory with 4 sections that's going to produce these 4 products. So let's get into it. I have a vision in mind, but we'll have to see how it all pans out, right? Just because you have an idea in mind doesn't mean it's going to work out the way you think. If you're enjoying the video and you want to support Data Engineer Plays, don't forget to leave a like and hit that subscribe button. And if you have any feedback or suggestions, feel free to share them in the comment section. I'm going to need a pretty big factory section for this. So I'm going to lay out quite a few floor tiles. Let's lay down some explosives to clear these trees. I missed these 2, that's fine. Just going to try to figure out where the center line for my factory might be. It looks like I should align to here. So it's around these 2 tiles. And I'm just going to mark that as my center line to start with. Because this factory is basically going to work around a center line. Now, I only want 1 tile as my center line, but that's fine. I have an idea in mind for this factory, and I need to put down some machines to figure out how that's going to work. Alright, so to make the recipes that I described earlier, for the iron plate, we're going to need 20 foundries. For the iron rod, we're going to need 25 constructors. That's not a big issue. And then for the steel pipe and steel beam, we're going to need 6 foundries and 2.5 foundries respectively. It's a really weird number, but we're going to build to obviously our biggest buildings first. So let's see how many foundries we can fit in to this shape that I want to go for. So I'm going to use foundries as a measuring tape basically. So if you recall, this is my foundry blueprint. It comes in stacks of 8. So from my center line, if one of my buildings starts this way, that seems a bit long. I'm wondering if I can do 2 stacks of 8 like that. That's 16. And then to do 20, it's a bit much. All right, so we're going to do the building in this level, I guess. So every level will have 8 foundries. That seems like a decent number. So say there's 8 foundries here. I know one of these buildings is going to be constructors, but wherever fits foundries can definitely fit constructors. So assuming that's my center line over here, we're going to just use one of these two as the center line. There's going to be empty space here. Let me actually get rid of this and move it out a little bit. Trust me, there's method to this madness. Okay, the other one is here along the center line. That won't quite be right. I'm still on one center line. Confusing myself with this double center line. Assuming this is going to be a center line, this is going to be the wall, which is fine. Then we probably need to move this out one more tile. Give ourselves more space than we think we need. So that's the center line. It's going to be empty. There's going to be a wall. Then there's one tile of space, and then we go in. So it's 1, 2 on the other side as well. So like 1, that's going to be a wall. That's going to be an empty space. And then the machine's actually going to start from here. So that's what the measurement of our building is going to be along the back. And then we want to wrap it towards the front as well. So one of these is going to be another row of foundries. Now, if we sketch this out a bit where the wall's going to be, it's going to come along, say here, and then down here somewhere. I'm just trying to think how I want to do this. Okay, it's going to be like down here somewhere, but that's fine. I just want to know how deep we want to go. So say foundries go around here. I think this is an adequate amount of space. Okay, I'm going to guesstimate this is around the right amount of space I need. Now I'm going to start sketching out what I want my building to actually look like. I know I've just been talking like I'm trying to plan something, but I haven't told you guys exactly what I'm trying to do. But basically, this is the plan. It's going to be one building like this, one building like that. Now we need one tile of space in the back for breathing room. And we're probably going to need way more stuff and chop down some of these trees as well. And we're going to go to the end here. One tile of space for breathing room here as well. And then that's going to be the sketchings of our first building. Now we basically want the building to be like this C shape, but I want a bit of diagonality here. So I'm going to try to implement that. I might need some more floor here as well. So we're going to use our regular style to do road barriers. And we're going to go for our standard 90-degree turns because they're the easiest to work with. But essentially we want to go diagonal now out this way. And then I do want a diagonal here, but then I want it to flatten out somewhere. Or do we just want the turn to be diagonal and then the join to be diagonal? Because there needs to be, see how I've got a division between these two buildings? I want a division between these buildings as well. So if I were to divide this building diagonally here, what would that look like? Let's try it. Might need some more floor here. That cuts in too far. It would cut in somewhere here, but I need to align it with this thing. So I need this one to come out. So we'll build our road barriers out this way. Then we'll build out our foundation this way to meet it. Now they don't match up exactly, obviously. So they need to close up perfectly, I guess. I need a tile here somewhere that can measure that out. And I believe it would be this tile. So to close it off perfectly, we need to come out from this tile, this way and this way. And do something like this. So that's one of our buildings. See how it has a reasonably interesting shape. Now we're going to need to do something similar here, and that's going to be this diagonal over here. So let's just start it from this diagonal and go this way. Let me start drawing out this shape first so that we know where to end it. We want it probably 2 tiles away from the wall over there. Chuck in our road barriers over here, and then we'll get a diagonal going this way as well. Now over on this side, we want to seal off this building as per normal. Now I need to know how wide this goes, so let me fit a bunch of constructors and or thingos in here. Boundaries. So you can fit 10 constructors on each floor, which is fine. Or you can fit 6 foundries pretty comfortably. So I want 1 tile of space, ideally. And then along the back, I also want 1 tile of space, so it'll be around here. So that's essentially the shape. So I'm going to draw it up to about here. Maybe 1 more tile or 2 more tiles. And in theory, if I chop down this tree that's currently visually in my way, we should be able to get some sort of alignment along here. See how that lines perfectly? So we're going to do the same thing as we did on the other side and find the tile where that's meant to turn. We'll chuck a thing here, and then we will add our road barriers and get that lined up perfectly. And just like that, we've got another corner in, and it lines up nicely. And that's basically the shapes of our buildings. What do you guys think that's going to look like once I've got all 4 up? I'm going to do the same thing on this side real quick. I've sketched out this side exactly the same way I've sketched out this side, except the only difference is I'm using half foundations. So I listening to one of the advice of my viewers in that since these buildings are quite small relative to our other buildings, maybe we should use half foundations for our walls to get less thickness in our walls. That way we can add more detail and design to them. So I wonder if I can very easily replace these foundations with half foundations. I have to rebuild the whole thing, damn it. Okay, fine. I'll just rebuild the whole thing. Shouldn't be too hard. It basically just works even the turns and stuff, these diagonals, they work exactly the same way. I might actually make it a little bit easier for myself by building the half foundation so I don't have to realign them by building 1 level up, then deleting the layer underneath, then building it underneath. That's a lot easier to do than redoing the road barriers and such. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and replace all these full foundations with half foundations, and when that's done, we will continue on. Alright, easy peasy. All of our foundations have now been replaced with half foundations. Get this annoying tree out of the way, and we can see better. Fantastic. So we have our 4 little mini structures. Now they're all going to tile upwards for scalability. And the cool thing is they're all going to go up at different rates, right? Because they're all 4 different materials, and depending on what we need, we can just add levels to it. So I'm going to keep the design reasonably simple. So let's just sketch one out. So the height of these buildings is going to be 4, which is our standard sort of height for these sort of foundries and constructors and stuff. So let's just go up 3 more, and that's the tippy top of our building. And then from the top, we're going to do 1 more level for a subfloor in between each level for any belt shenanigans that we might have. So that's basically a story of our building. So let's just put this on every single corner, and then we can figure out how we're going to fill in the walls. Now there's an obviously disadvantage of using this, and that is we can't put any verticals in there. You know how normally we cut ramps and stuff to give verticality to our building? That obviously doesn't work when you're using half foundations because they stick out and there's no half wall or anything like that. So we're going to have to try to make this building look pretty decent without any of the help from our little triangle ramps. But that's okay. We can try to get creative. There's all our corners in, nice and simple. Let's close off the subfloor level. Just like that, and now our building has a nice frame. From that nice frame, we can just fill it in. Now, I'm thinking we just do something really, really simple and keep the building very glassy and transparent and see-through. I think that would look really nice. So let's just fill in some of these things with windows. Oh, I don't like this. We need to like cover this. For some reason, well, I'm not gonna say for some reason, when you're using what we're doing here, the Z fighting happens on the corners. Basically, when two of these cross like on the same tile, like this corner basically creates Z fighting if you have it stacked like that. So we need to do something about where these things meet at 90 degrees. Let me just check what else has really horrible Z fighting. These turned corners are okay. They don't really Z fight much. That's fine. So we can either just cut the corner, like make it diagonal, or we can, I'd like to keep it straight. So we can just do a pillar that covers across here, which will look pretty nice as well. Let's get the functionality in first so that we know what we're working with. Actually, no, I was going to put the roof in first, but it should be okay, right? Let's just double check that the roof actually goes in, because that would be the most horrendous thing. Basically, this is the roof. We've got to get the roof started at the right spot, because if we start the roof here, it's not going to be right. So I'm going to need like a helper tile for now. Let's just get that up to where we want our roof to start, which is here. And then we'll get the roof tile started at the right spot. Now, when this goes out, does this horribly clip with everything? Looks a bit weird. Let's get it in and have a look. I mean, this is a disadvantage of doing things diagonally, but as long as it doesn't clip out this side, it should be okay. Looks a bit weird from under here. We might have to do something to hide this. But yeah, that's basically the roof, right? And there's like a little bit of Z fighting here, which makes sense. Okay, I'm okay with this because we can just extend this side inward a little bit, like this. But we'll have to see what it looks like from above. So this is the actual second floor. So yeah, this is going to be the roof. I need to replace this with the right foundation, which is going to be coated concrete, I guess. And once that coated concrete is in, it should be okay. We'll have to have a look. Because remember, these buildings do need to be stackable. So as much as I love interesting design, it needs to be easily stackable. Otherwise, this whole thing is moot. Yep, and that's a subfloor in between levels for belt management. Now here's a diagonal bit. This is going to be the tricky part. So we'll have to see how this works. It should mostly be fine because I can just now extend this inwards. If I can figure out the right tile to do that from. So starting from this tile, we should be able to zoop it all the way out like that. And that should cover up all the issues. It's not pretty, like if you go into it, you can kind of see, but that's fine. And we can very easily cover up this underneath side. We can add another layer of foundation underneath. That's not a problem. So we just zoop it out like this, and that should cover all the holes. Nice. So you don't have these problems when you're using the normal size foundation, but when you're using the half foundation, you get issues like this, which is weird. Because I think normally, well, we haven't done a diagonal wall with a ceiling like this before, so I can't really say. But it shouldn't be an issue. We can just cover all this with a foundation or something, maybe. Either that, or we can just replace all this with coated concrete, and then it won't be an issue at all, right? Or what makes more sense would probably just to elevate the floor, elevate this ceiling one more level, because nothing's actually going on this ceiling. And that way we won't have these issues at all. Just leaving one tile of foundation as a starting point. Wait, no, I got it at the wrong height. So if we just want this like one tile up above where it's meant to be, in theory that should join up with this perfectly. And now does it Z fight on the outside? A little bit, but barely noticeable. All right, I think that's just makes it practically a lot easier, right? And I don't think you're gonna notice 1 meter foundation difference up the top either. And when it comes out here, we can make it not stick out this diagonal bit. All right, I'm gonna do that. All right, and with that, we can see we now have a nice ceiling, although it is in coated concrete, which I don't really like how reflective the ceiling is, but that's fine. It is what it is. Now that we've got all of that in, we can start looking at what we want to do for the outside. Now we're going to do something pretty simple because this is going to be a pretty interesting looking build with the 4 different sections of the building already. So we don't need to do anything crazy. Let's just try regular windows and then we'll go from there. Alright, there's our first building sealed off with full frame windows. They look alright, nothing particularly interesting yet. I think the only thing that we need to do is accentuate some of these outside things, and we're going to have to hide this Z-fighting anyway. So we want to create some sort of, like, I don't know if it's going to be a pillar or it's going to be something to sort of cover this up a little bit. So let's see. I'm going to start with just foundation. Now obviously can't cover this side up because these 2 bits are going to join. Basically we just want to accentuate the this side bit out a bit. So maybe that just uses regular 4-meter foundation up to the end, and then we go down. And then we'll just do one more over here as well. It's kind of like a cross support beam style thing. Again, don't want to go too crazy with this. Keep the design nice and clean and simple. That looks nice, and we can probably do one more that goes across this side. And there we go. That's the geometry and structure of our building done. Now we can decide on the color. I like my frames to be black. That looks fine. And do we want our inside buildings to be white? I think the white looks better than the gray. What do we think? Let's paint this building white and see what it looks like. Not a big fan of the white. What about you guys? I don't really like it. The black and the white is like too much. Let's try a different color. Copper? I feel like it's better to paint the whole building black because that's our main color, as with every other building, and then just give the beams a different finish. So let me try that. Alright, so I've reversed the colors, and that's what that looks like. And I can't really decide. I mean, they both kind of look interesting and cool. I think what I'm going to do next is maybe make one over here, and then we can do a side-by-side comparison of what colors and pillars that we should use looks best. I think is probably the best way to go. I need to build this out anyway, so let's get started. I'm going to build it out. I don't think you need to see me do it on camera. You've seen me do this one already, so I'm just going to build this one out. Alright, so I've got the basic black building in. I haven't done the windows yet, but let's worry about these frames. So before we were using foundations to accentuate, let's try pillars this time. Use big metal pillars. I mean, that covers up a lot of the Z-fighting. Can get them going across like this. What do we think of big metal pillars instead? And there's still a little bit of Z-fighting in here, but I can live with that. We can always get it all the way to the edge. I think I like the big metal pillars better. I think. Now, if we really wanted to remove the Z-fighting here, can't we just shift all this out by half a foundation? And what I mean by that is, can't I just build the foundations like this? Well, I just build it up from here and they'll just delete the rest. So what if we did that? Wait, that's not right. I want it on this one. And we'll just delete the rest here. And that fixes the Z fighting here. Now there is still a little bit of Z fighting, and that's from this tile. And what I did was replace these with half foundations. Now if we shift the half foundations in as well, that will remove that Z fighting, right? It's getting more complex to build, but then there's Z fighting here. That's a bit annoying. getting more complex to build, but we can remove some of the Z fighting, at least in places that we can't really see. We'll shift the Z fighting to places we can't really see it, right? Change that to a half foundation as well. What is going on over here? Did I do vertical build? I think that removes a lot of it. This looks a little bit awkward on this side, that's all. But I can live with that. But that removes the Z fighting in the front of the building at least, and I'm pretty happy with that. And that way we can use our metal pillars. And I think the metal pillars look a little bit more cleaner than the other ones. So let's try putting them up on this side too. Doesn't like that. Gonna have to push it all the way through like that. And how does that look as a beam instead of this? Do we like this a little bit better? I think I like this one a little bit better. What do we think comparing two side by side? I'm pretty satisfied with how this looks. I'm gonna try to build out the rest of this now, and we'll see what the campus looks like as a whole. So I finished my third building over there, and as I was going over my first building and removing the white pillar supports and trying to replace them with these metal beams, you know what I finally realized? And I thought this would be interesting to share if any of you guys are confused why some things are Z fighting and some things are not. Did you know these things have a front and a back? And I don't know if that applies to these foundations, but I don't think these foundations have a front and a back. They all look the same from every angle. But when you're using these half foundations, they actually have a inside and outside end. It doesn't look the same from both sides. I can show you. See how this has like a cross in it, and then this side doesn't have a cross in it? They have an orientation, which is super annoying. And it doesn't really matter until you paint them black. That's when you really notice how this is just smooth and shiny, and then this side is a lot lighter gray, and this is more like stark black. And it's the stark black side that has no Z fighting, and then if you use this gray side, it has a lot of Z fighting. Oh my god. So I'm gonna have to I've been going around and just replacing everything and making sure it's all flipped the right way now. Oh god, it's so hard to place. But essentially I've been going through and just replacing all of these and trying to reorient my entire building to face the right direction. Yeah, these are all flipped the wrong side. I actually have to go in here and make sure that these are all facing the right side with the smooth side facing outwards. Oh man, this is gonna be such a big job. Oh, I see I've done it wrong again. Yeah, so whoever told me about using these half foundations, I'm being trolled a little bit. Partially by myself and not realizing this. But then see how this is a lot darker black and there's no more Z fighting now? Whereas this side above, all this Z fighting, we can get rid of that by replacing these with the same block but just faced the correct way around. Check it out. So when I make that in there, then I chrome finish it, boom. All the Z fighting is suddenly gone. Well, there's still Z fighting here. This part is something that we do need to actually fix, but a lot of the Z fighting that's coming from the floor sticking through and things like that, all gone from that fix. So I've just been going through and fixing all that, and it's very, very hard to see whether it's oriented the right way, but once you put it down and paint it black, you can pretty much see all that Z fighting fixed. So I'm gonna have to go through these buildings and make sure all these bricks are oriented the right way. This inside corner, I don't really care anymore because, yeah, it doesn't really matter. But I gotta make sure all the other stuff is oriented correctly, and that means I don't need to do any complicated ceiling work. I can just have these full foundations out and they can stick through here, and there's not actually any Z fighting, which is fantastic. So I'm gonna go through and fix all of that now. With that learning under our belt, our fourth building is now complete. So our steel campus is now complete. It's kind of like a college campus where you have different buildings on the same site. So that's sort of the vibe that I'm going for. I mean, the overall shape didn't turn out as interesting as I thought it would, but you've got to constantly toss up between the complexity of your build versus what you're building for. Now, these are all just basic steel products, so we're going to need to scale this vertically on every single building constantly. So we don't want to do anything super crazy, right? So I think this looks okay. Like, it looks pretty interesting. Like, you come over here and there's like these 4 buildings here that are building all our steel products. I like it. So we're going to go with that. I think the next thing that we need to design is an entranceway. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tiles. So we're going to carve out a double entranceway like that probably. And then we will just build something to go it, like maybe just continue with this pillar design. Or is that like too big now? Go with the small pillar. Why can't I put one on the edge there? Hello? Is it the glass? Doesn't like it? It doesn't let me put the small pillar up on the edge. What? Rightio. I'm gonna have to work around that somehow. Maybe we won't use the small pillars then. You can do an entranceway like this, and then it sticks out a bit, which is kind of cool. Or if we shifted it in a little bit like this. Do we like that for an entranceway? I think that looks kind of cool, and we can finish it off with some beams and stuff if we need to. And that way we can do the lighting in here as well. Let's paint that in. Do we want it painted in? Does it kind of look cool in a different color? I kind of like it. Next, let's add our billboards to the entranceway to give it some lighting. And one on the roof as well, maybe. Whoa. The roof is a bit awkward, so I'm just going to try to shift it into the halfway point and do it from here as well. That looks a lot better. Now, do we like this entranceway this color, or should we paint it? Let's try a white entrance. Maybe that gives it a nice touch. Black building, white entrance. It's kind of nice and distinguished, don't you think? Alright, let's roll with that. And do we like the blocky shape? Yeah, I think it's alright. I'm going to implement this on all 4 of my buildings, and then we'll start placing our machines. There it is. All our entranceways are now in on all 4 of our buildings. Fantastic. So now we can start doing the machines. Now I've sort of already roughly placed them, but I might shift them a little bit now that we have a bigger room. So we might need to put like a sink in here or something. Let's see how that might fit. Oh yeah, there's actually plenty of room for a sink at the end of each of these. Alright, cool. Well, we should probably get the alignment the same on every single building, right? So there's 8 machines here. Here's our center line. Let's just fix it all to a center line. We should also figure out which direction we want our inputs and outputs coming in from. I mean, this is fine. I guess it can come in here and then loop around the back there. I don't really mind that. I want my machines shifted as much as we can towards this side, so that's fine. And then in terms of a center line, I guess this is as good as any. Maybe on this center line. Give some more room around the front. There's 1 full tile. Yeah, I guess this line is probably the best to use. I think this is the direct center. If we want to get technical, it should be about here. That way we get even spacing around both sides, maybe. And then I think I do want to leave a little bit more room on this side. So, oh no, that's fine actually. It fits nicely on the pillars here fit nicely. So I think I'm going to go with this alignment. Let's chuck that in there. And then the final belt outputs come out here, right? No, wait, what? The inputs come in here. And then the outputs come in here. I don't like that. Because I'm thinking, let's just think about where all the steel is going to come from. The steel is coming from here and the iron's coming from here. So it's going to be input, and doesn't really matter what direction we do things in. Let's figure out where we're going to do our 4 buildings. Alright, so given that the concrete needs to come from all the way over there, it makes sense the 2 recipes that require concrete, which is the steel pipes and steel beams, are going to go there. There's going to be some foundries here and here. Here, I guess we can just do the constructors, and then here we can do the foundries for the iron rods. Sorry, foundries for the iron plate, and then the constructors for the iron rods here. So I do want it to sort of feed, I guess the steel can come down and then maybe it can like split in half and then go here and here. I don't know. But I feel like I want this to input from this direction, which I suppose it does input from this direction, and it doesn't really matter which way it loops around. Because if it inputs from this direction, then it can loop around over here, connect, and then it can end, and then it's just going to go up, right? All right, I think that seems to be fine. Then over here is going to be constructors then. So let's get rid of this, and let's see if we can fit 10 constructors here, which should be easy. Again, we'll use this as the center line for our machines. And we probably want to rotate this though, like that, so the iron can come in from this direction. Oh, and then it does go back out that direction, but that's fine. And in terms of how pushed we want it on this end, probably give one tile room here. And then there's plenty of room for any sinks or anything we want to build. So let me just redo that. Keep it consistent, start the pole there, and then center it along this line. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. So this is going to be the iron rods, and this is going to be the iron plate. And now we need our foundries for the steel pipe and the foundries for the steel beam. This one is a little bit interesting in that we're going to basically only need 6 foundries for the pipes. So we can just do the pipes here, I guess. We'll face it this direction this time. So basically these poles go into these holes, and then that should be perfect. And I think that is the direction I want things in. Yeah, that should be fine. All right, that is going to be for our steel pipes. And now we only need 2.5 foundries in here for the steel beams, apparently, because each steel beam machine can process a lot, but we'll still use our full foundry blueprint. I'm sure we'll need to expand on this at some point in the future, so it's no harm using the full blueprint. So we'll set that up the same way like this, and that should be all good. That is not the center I want. It's over here probably. Now we'll shift it back one, so they all start roughly in the same spot. And I'm pretty happy with that. All right, great. So with that, we can start probably figuring out how to get the materials into the first level of our factory. So we're going to grab the steel out of here. Let's figure out where it's actually coming out of. I think we never processed it properly into an actual output, but that's okay. Now, it doesn't look like there's much room within the floor to merge these outputs, although at the same time, this isn't going straight into the subfloor, is it? Let's have a look. It's going to come out underneath here. I mean, we can just have an elevator underneath here to the subfloor. It's not a big problem. I don't mind that, and then we'll deal with it in the subfloor. So were we to do that, I think they're all coming out this way. Let's start getting our floor holes in. Is our first floor hole. Let's get a lift in there. Get a floor hole here as well. Get a lift in there. Now we have the lifts here. We need to bring them all the way into the subfloor. So they'll go here. Why is this an upwards going lift? That makes no sense. 1 second. And that is an outward going lift. That's weird. That... Wait, what? Aren't these all mergers? I'm very confused about this merger. Ah, this merger comes out here, sorry. So really, yeah, this merger's backwards because... Wait, is that right? Or does this merger come out here too? No, this one goes in. It's meant to wrap around and go into this one. That's fine. They come out different places. That's totally fine. We can put this one over here. Now let's fix this floor hole down here. So that's going to go directly in the center there. So we'll chuck a floor hole there, and that should link up nicely. Now we want all these to face this direction. So we'll face it accordingly, and then we can just have lifts underneath here. I don't think that looks horrible. These lifts are kind of pretty. I mean, they're kind of everywhere now. But hey, that's fine. We haven't figured out what we're going to do with the space down here yet. We might add some tractor stops later. But for now, we just need to get into the subfloor and start working on stuff. Now we have a subfloor access right here. So let's figure out where the material needs to come up. So for these constructors, we're trying to make steel rods. So let's set the recipes first. And the material needs to go in from here, and that's where the output goes. All right, that's fine. So let's get a floor hole here somewhere. And we'll bring it in through here. Now we could bring it in through the window or through here if we wanted to. For decoration purposes. Do we want to do it through for decoration purposes? Or should we have just nice clean buildings with no lifts on the outside? I kind of like the lifts on the outside. So we might go the extra mile, I guess. So it lines up best with this window. So we'll chuck ourselves a conveyor wall here. And then we'll get ourselves a lift that comes down here somewhere. We should align something like that. Then if we grab a lift like this, they should align. And that's flat. It almost is straight, but it's not quite straight. So we'll do something like that. We'll get rid of this floor hole. We're just making our lives a little bit more complicated, but that's fine. And then we'll get that lift hole down here. It doesn't look good, does it, through this glass window? And then the lift will clip through the side of this building, which we don't really like that either, do we? Do we like this? Is that decorative and nice looking? Doesn't look too bad clipping through this wall. Yeah, I don't mind it. Gives something interesting to look at on the side of the building, I guess. All right, we'll go with that. Then we have a floor hole that we need to meet up. So let's get our first belt together. Makes a lot of sense to use this belt for this side. So we'll set up a lift that goes this way. And then we'll use our usual patterns to bring everything over. So we'll do straight lines. And then to bring it under, we need to bring some more subfloor. So our rule to keep everything from crisscrossing terribly is that when we're going in this direction, this east-west direction, we run things along the floor. And when we're going in the north-south direction, we run things into the ceiling. So let's bring our belt out this way. That way, in theory, things should never crisscross. In theory. Keep saying in theory, but hey, who knows in practice what's going to actually happen. So we need to bring it up at some point to meet this belt. Let's see if I did that correctly. Almost. Trying to keep the belts as clean as possible because we know there's going to be a lot of belt messiness later. So where I can get things straight, I'm going to get it straight. So basically we've got our steel coming out here now and then going up here. Now, at some point we need to split this so that it can go into the next lift hole, but let's go figure out where that might be. Also realized I didn't put any stairs here, so I don't know where to get back up. Let me just put some stairs here real quick. There we go. Now we know how to get back up. Alright, so now we can go work on our next building. Our next building involves making steel plates. So let's configure the foundry to make alternate steel cast plate. Now this thing's going to have 2 inputs. Let's see, figure out where the inputs are going to go. Now, because they're going to have 2 inputs, I don't recommend doing this via the outside. Because where would that even go? And all these are diagonal. There's no like clean way to get belts into the building. So I'm going to just do this straight in the subfloor here. I know a consistency of doing stuff is just completely random at this point, but that's the joy of building this organically, right? We don't plan everything, and then if things work out nicely organically, then great. And if they don't, then we'll figure out other ways to do it. But none of this is planned. So I think that gives it a nice chaotic organicness to the build. Anyway, those 2 floor holes are in. I'm going to stop jibber jabbering and try to get this done. Let's get this. We need the iron also out. So let's go have a look at our iron first of all. Now we know most of one level is being used up for steel, but the second belt is free. So that first belt is, I'm guessing, this belt. And I mean, why wouldn't I be using the first 2 levels worth of belt? I think, yep. So that means it's these 2 levels worth of belt that needs to be merged into a full 1200 belt and sent somewhere. So let's do that. Now I think the input for this is all the same side. So to get this done easily, we should probably just manipulate the things over here. So let's start from the top to the bottom. Go on the 4th floor and pick an arbitrary start point. Maybe we want it to be this one. And just get rid of all of this. There we go. That's all gone now. We'll rebuild the merges and we'll make them face this way this time. And there we go. All the belts are now rejoined onto the merger. And now we can take the output of this merger and we can bring it out here. I don't think I can do it in one clean go, right? Nope. We'll have to do it. We might need to pick a center point at some point and then go in. Means we need to remove these lovely shiny poles. Why are you guys not producing anything? You have no iron ore. Right. These belts aren't even merged yet. That would be why. Now that should get that going. And we should be able to get iron out here. Merge through here. And now this needs to go through the subfloor. So let's get that going into the subfloor. That. And then we can drill ourselves into the subfloor. Ah, that's right, because this subfloor now comes directly onto this belt. We don't want to do that. We want it to come out a little bit. And then go into the subfloor. Like that. And now we got a clean area to get out of. So we'll put another floor hole here. And we'll get that through the subfloor as well. Now we can seal that up and we can work on the next level. So we'll go down to level 3. Now in theory, there should be a hole here somewhere, hopefully not intercepting a light. And as this comes down, it needs to merge into this. So this is the manifold we need to rebuild. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So we'll delete the old manifold. We'll get the new belts in like that, facing the right direction. And now the output from above can come down and merge with this. This thing should be able to now go around and merge with this. We'll clean up by removing these poles. And now the output of this final manifold should be our full 1200 belt. Now our full 1200 belt needs to go somewhere out in this direction, but how we're going to do that is beyond me at the moment. I think we're going to have to do something out the subfloor and out the side or somewhere. We basically just need to get this into the subfloor. Into the, not this building subfloor, but the actual subfloor under our whole factory. So from this subfloor, let's see if there's like a clean way out. I should be wary of just drilling random holes everywhere. Let's see what a path is out of the floor and into the subfloor for this is. So there's the floor. If I... Wait, what is this? This is a 2-meter foundation. Why do I have random 2-meter foundations above my floor? So this is the subfloor level. And it's kind of half masked by this glass area. So I can't really come out there. Otherwise it'll be in here. Okay. So I guess the best place to get it out the subfloor would just be to come out one of these side walls. I'm just going to pick one at random. It's going to be this one. So I'm going to delete all this. And there you go. We're in the subfloor now. And there's our thing. So let me seal this, this floor up so we don't forget. And then we'll get this coming out here. Now we'll go to our conveyor walls. And we will send one maybe just here. Don't need to add any more stuff to this. So we'll get one here. And then we'll just get that going out this way somewhere. Like that. And then through this conveyor wall you go. Confirm that is iron ingots coming out of there, which it is. And then out we go. And we'll bring that into the floor. So we'll get a thing going here. Oops. And that should click in nicely. Oh wait, it was in the right spot. Like I said, that should click in nicely. Painted that way. Pointed that way, I should say. And now if we go into our subfloor, we should have our full iron belt ready to use. Now for my notations, I think I'm going to fix this up a little bit. Because there's, if I say this is outputting 2400 and we're using 800 for steel, that's kind of lying, right? Well, it's not lying, but it's just too confusing for later on. I should say the 2 floors here are outputting 1200, and we've got 400 available because 800 is being used by steel, right? Then if we copy this and just copy one of these icons, we should go up like 1-2 levels, and then on this 3rd level's entrance do the same thing. So now here we can say we're taking this, and 300 of this iron is being used for iron plate, and therefore we have 900 available iron on this belt here. So whatever belt that's coming out of here, and that's really easy to trace now because I can come over here and be like, where is this belt being output? And that's the output belt, right? Should put like little signs here that say this is the output belt. Maybe can't put it on here, we'll just have to like put it here. What is a icon I can use to denote that? Because otherwise things are going to get very confusing where it's being output to. Because this is where I need to know to go. Like, say I want to split this belt off. If I come back here later and go, all right, now I want to use this other 900 iron from here. Here is the point where I go, all right, somewhere following here, I need to split the iron belt. So over here, I need to go, this is actually an output. Not backgrounds, equipment, nope. Other, monochrome. Maybe just an arrow is enough. I'll just say this arrow denotes output, whatever. We'll just use some consistent notation so that we know that's the output belt. Yeah, and we'll just use the default format for this because otherwise it's super confusing. But yes, all of that was just to get this belt out. Now we have our iron belt, so we can go back under the floor and we can go and route our iron belt over to where we need to. So here's our iron belt. Just bring that out to confirm that is indeed iron. There we go. And let's bring our iron all the way over. Let's figure out where the actual holes are. Here. Okay. Now over here, I need to do a split on this steel belt at some point. So I'm just going to do a splitter here. Doesn't really matter where I split it. And then we're going to bring that next to the iron belt, I think. See, this is the other thing. We should probably just bring it directly this way so that we don't create too much horizontalness in case, like, say another belt needs to go all the way through, then there's nothing for it to actually have to cross, right? So we're here. And we just need to bring it in here. And I think that's close enough to just directly bring. That's like very little crossing, right? We'll say that's a forgivable amount of crossing. This one, however, is not. So I might need to build some subfloor at some point. So there's our subfloor. And we'll bring that one down. Ah, it's actually perfect. There we go. There's the iron. Sorry, there's the iron, there's the steel, and now that should be going into our foundry levels. Very nice. Now to validate all of this is working before we do more belting, let's get some power into this whole setup. Our nearest power point is probably around here somewhere, so we can bring the power from somewhere here across and into there. I guess this is as good of a point as any. I'm going to stand here and see where this goes into the wall or can go out from. Something like that, maybe. In fact, that should probably just be a double wall outlet, right? Haven't used a double wall outlet for a really long time. There we go. And now this can go across. And it's kind of like in line with this one, but shifted off one. So it can go here. Is that just straight? That is perfectly straight. We probably want that to be a double wall outlet as well, which is perfect. That should get power to it. I feel like it's going up a little bit, but I'm just going to leave that. I don't know if that's just a visual trick or not. But it's in here now, and it's close enough to this that I don't need to manipulate it too much. We'll get that going there, and then we'll just get that going straight in there. I mean, it's not perfectly straight, but it's close enough. That's all powered. Why is this random one not powered? No, it's just got no recipe set. All right, there we go. So now that should all be making iron rods. I know that we need 25 constructors all up, and we have 10 per floor. So we do need a second floor of this at some point. but I'm not going to do that right now. I just want to get power to this next set of machines. So what is the best way to do that? Probably just cross the power here somewhere. So from here, we'll just get it going up then. So it's like around there. We'll replace that with a double wall outlet. And that looks reasonably clean. Now get another double wall outlet going from here through to here, but is that straight? Oh, that's a perfect guess. That looks very straight to me. And with power in here, we can just connect it to here. Just like that. These lines don't need to be any particular direction. Now we've got 8 foundries in here. We actually need 20 foundries to make the iron that we need. So we can add 2 more foundries. There is space probably on one side or the other, or we can just do overclocking. Probably best we do overclocking and conserve some space. But we do need to overclock a lot because we need another 2 machines worth. So we need to overclock 2 on this floor and then 2 on the floor above it. So that's fine. Okay, so we've got our first 2 machines working to make iron plates. Not quite, because I haven't connected the belts over here yet. I forgot how high these things need to be flat. I think it's that. There we go. Perfect. That will get all our material through both sides, and now everything should be producing iron plate at a whopping 45 per minute each. So we'll be getting plenty of iron plate there. Alright, so we validated the setup all works. Let's get the steel rod part going as well. So these things need 2 inputs as well, and it needs concrete as well as iron. Steel, sorry. So let's get that going. We should probably start on this side. Now, if this is going to be the... Well, it doesn't really matter which one we make steel beam and steel pipe, does it? We'll just make this one steel beam. We'll make this one steel pipe, because we need 6 of those. So we're going to do molded steel pipe, which needs concrete and steel ingot. We'll copy that setting across. Now, my math says we only need 6 machines doing this. 1, 2, so there's 8 here, right? And where's the starting point? The starting point is here and here, which is fantastic. And then we can just get the last 2 machines in the manifold to be off. No point deleting stuff, because if we need to expand stuff later, then we're just going to have to re-add it all back in. So we'll just do that. And again, because there's dual inputs, we'll get the input going from the floor here. So like that. And there. Get our lifts in. And we're ready to go. So we've got to go bring our steel in from over here somewhere. Here's our steel that's coming out from the other half of our steel production. And that can be pulled over to one of these areas. So we're going to pull a belt out this way as long as it goes. We'll add in some subfloor. And we'll bring one of these down. You will do. Then we'll pull the belt this way to meet over here somewhere. So we need a lot more floor. Then we can draw our east-west belt this way. And do our best to connect it over here. I need to really memorize like how many tiles back we go. So if that's the connection point, I believe it's 2 tiles. Let's see. Wait, what did I just do? The hell? Am I doing Mark 5 belts for some reason? What? When did that switch to Mark 5? Have I been putting Mark 5 belts everywhere? I hope not. These are all Mark 6 belts, right? Alright, good. Anyway, let's see if I did that correctly. Let's bring that up. And let's see if that forms a straight belt. Perfect. That's one material down. Now we've got to bring a path for the concrete to come out. And we haven't actually been using our concrete for anything yet. So we've got to go all the way back to episode 1's factory, all the way on the other side of the world, and bring the concrete over. It's actually not too far, I don't think. So our concrete factory, if you remember from episode 1, is over here, this lovely grey building. We should really make more grey buildings, but I really don't like how washed out it looks. And we've obviously got our concrete producing at 800, but they're being instantly disposed of. But we did set up this smart splitter such that this is an overflow belt. and the actual output belt goes out here, so we can bring that into the subfloor to go be used at places. So I'm going to put a floor hole here, and then we're going to go into the floor. And this should take priority. So we should be able to now write on our thing that we're using up some of this concrete for our steel production. Now, how much concrete are we actually using up? Let me just consult my notepad to figure that out. So it's 380 concrete by my calculations. We'll verify that in a bit. For steel pipe, we have 6 foundries and they use 30 concrete each, so it's 180. For steel beam, we got 2.5 foundries and that should use up 200 concrete. So our available should be 420, which is, well, 420 is low now compared to the 800 for construction, but because my construction costs are turned off, kind of cheating a little bit, I don't really care about this. Ideally, you know, if I had construction costs on, I'd probably make a new concrete factory at this point, but right now let's focus on continuing to expand our factory. So we've put this thing underground now. We need to go underground and connect it all the way to the steel factory. This might take a while. So it's over here and we need to cross it all the way over to that side. So we're just going to go this way to where all the pipes are. Unfortunately, we are going to have to figure out a way to cross the pipes properly, but that's fine. We can figure that out. Oh, actually, we don't need to do anything to cross the pipes because they just automatically cross the pipes without touching them. Fantastic. Not that underground clipping is a big concern of mine. I just, you know, where we can not clip things, we'll just not clip things. There's a reason this is all subfloor because, you know, we don't want to waste time trying to make the subfloor clean. But now we are here and we need to go that way and we don't have a floor or a subfloor to go that way. So I'm going to have to extend this out quite a lot. So I've pulled out my floor all the way to this side of the world. That's fine. Once we add more factories here, this will all be concealed, but our subfloor is just going to be exposed for a little while. I don't mind that. It's fine. So here's our belt. We're going to bring it down this way. Now, before we go into the belt, we know we need to split both of these, right? So what if we just had 2 splitters in here? So that one's splitting from that side and this one's splitting from that side. So it goes into a splitter first and then we can pull the belt out this way, right? And same with here. I mean, technically we should bring this back to the ceiling now to go that way, but that's fine. I can do that. So basically it goes back onto the ceiling and then we can now pull these belts this way for the next building. But first we got to get this belt over to the other side of the world. Oh, I think I overshot it a little bit. Nah, I need a temporary floor over here as well. There we go. Let's just put a temporary floor over here so we can bring this belt over. Now this belt rests perfectly over here on this line. So I know when we get over here, we want to stop it 2 tiles before the line. Let's see if my maths works out. So this is the line where it needs to go up. If we go back 2 tiles, that will make the belt come out exactly where we want. Sorry, the lift. And there we go. Now we're delivering concrete to the other side of the world. Fantastic. Off you go, concrete. Now it should be split here and then go up, and then half of it should go out this way as well as the steel. So now we can add it to our other factory. Other factory only needs 2.5 machines. Really weird factory. So let's go in here, figure out where the input's coming from. It's on this side. Get the floor holes in first, as usual. Get that going down like that, and then we'll go into the subfloor to fix that up. But before I do that, let's just set the recipe. So this one's going to be making the molded steel beam, and indeed they do a lot. Each machine does a lot. I'm going to set all the recipes, but then I'm going to just turn off the machines. So from this machine onwards, it's just going to be off. I'm pretty sure the off setting gets copied as well, right? Nope. The offsetting does not get copied. So I have to manually switch off all of the machines. And now we only have 3 machines on, and this one should technically be at 50%. And that should use up the 300, right? 60, let's just validate our maths. So 120 times 2 is 240, and plus 60, that's 300, which is a quarter of the steel belt. Perfect. And that should produce 45, which is 90, plus half of 45, which is 22.5. which is plenty, right? 112.5 steel beams. It's more than our old factory made. Let's go back into the subfloor and connect those belts. We'll bring the belt as far this way as we can. Then we're just going to need more subfloor to deal with the rest. For those of you who aren't cheating and building with free resources, make sure you have a solid concrete factory to do all this. So we'll bring the resources close and we'll figure out the line. So this one's over here. So 1, 2 is there, directly on this line. Bring that one up. Our next one is over here. And it's on this line. So we'll go 1, 2, and in theory should be there. Bring that up, and that's our concrete joined in. Fantastic. Now we just need to power these two factories and see if we get our outputs. So we're going to do the power along the back, I guess. It doesn't really matter where. So it's along this line here. Something like that. Put a double wall outlet there. And then we'll just connect the power. Go to the other side and draw a straight line across. Don't ask me why my glass isn't aligned. No one saw that. And in theory, that should align nicely to here. Actually, we don't even need an extra thing. We can just... Wait, what are you doing? Why are you not... Ugh. My bad. Didn't do that properly. Let's try that again. So we want it here. But at the very top. There we go. So now we'll get that in here and then we'll check that our lovely machines are starting to produce steel beams. And indeed they are, which is fantastic. Now that we've got our steel beams coming out of these three, we can carry the power forward and get it out this side. Probably around there. Get that going across. Straight is, that looks perpendicular to me. And then we should be able to just get it straight into there. Now all of these machines should wear up. Now this does use most of the machine, so I do need to connect this across to the other side. Then again, I need to connect the other ones across to the other side at some point as well. But we'll chuck that in now and get the concrete and steel going this way. There we are. Now all the machines should slowly start coming to life at some point. I have to wait for all that to saturate and test if it is all indeed working properly. Are these two machines off? Yeah. So that's our 6 machines over here. Fantastic. And now we should have steel pipe going. We just added 4 new materials to our factory, which feels really good. But we're not quite done yet because we haven't added all the correct machines. We do have our 6 foundries for steel pipes and our 2.5 foundries for steel beams. However, we don't have our 20 foundries for iron plates, and we don't have our 25 constructors for iron rods. So I'm going to add that. So we're going to have to modify these buildings to add a second story. So I'm going to go do that, and that's going to take a while, but when that's done, I'll come back and talk about it. Alright, that took quite a long time, but I've completed the second floor additions to 2 of our buildings. So now it can accommodate all our machines. Let's hook them up together. So first we need to copy the recipe, and then we need to bring the power upstairs. So we'll line it up this way and drop it right here. And that should bring power to here, and we'll connect it into our machines. Now we'll get our recipes in. Next, our machines need materials, so let's hook up the belts. Bring a belt into the subfloor, and we'll face it that way. Now we're going to bring the material from downstairs up. So the material ends over here somewhere. So it's going to go into the ceiling around here. Bring that up, face it that way, and now we need to go into our subfloor so that we can route this material properly. Oh, what's going on over here? Ah, I think this is the consequence of me doing this floor slightly up. But it should be okay. Is this going to stick out of the floor now? It should be hidden by the thing. Oh dear. Hopefully that bit of floor actually hides that, because our floor, remember, we had to put our floor up 1 level, And now we're sort of feeling the consequence of that. And same with this conveyor lift. What? Oh wait, no, sorry. The floor hole's here. What am I doing? Going crazy. We want our conveyor lift facing this direction. And it should line up with the conveyor lift facing this direction. Does it even line up? Or is this going to be like through the floor? Alright, this is the consequence of not having your subfloor done properly. And that's what it's going to look like. But I'm okay with that as long as it doesn't clip through the actual building. I can't see the conveyor through the floor. That's fine. Just check what we've done over here. I didn't delete anything, did I? Nope. And our steel is now coming up to produce all the iron rods. You can see our iron rods are already coming out. Fantastic. That is 20 constructors, but we need 25 constructors. So we need 5 of these constructors clocked up to 200%, basically. Because I'm not going to add a third floor. It took quite a while to add this without blueprints, unfortunately. Having to build these floors manually kind of sucks. I probably, if I was smart, I should have invested some time into blueprinting this as like, you can kind of make a corner out of this. And then you can make a corner out of this and a corner out of this. And then you could probably piece this together from 3 blueprints. And yeah, that probably would have been a smart thing to do. And I probably will do that next time we need to expand the steel production. So I don't have to build all of that manually because it was a big pain in the butt to build this manually. But oh well, it's done now. So we need to overclock some of these machines to get all of our extra 5 machines out. So I'm just going to double up 5 machines. So I guess this row. So with 200% these first 5 machines, that should get us the full output. Nice and easy. So that's the equivalent of 25 machines, and we should be getting our full 1200 iron rods out of this section. Let's do this section next. So same deal. We need to bring this up into the subfloor. Or into the ceiling, sorry. Or into the subfloor, I guess. Now remember, the reason why we had to do all of this craziness was because we're using half foundations for our walls. So if you're thinking about using half foundations for your walls, just remember you're going to get all of these issues rather than like if you just use full foundations, you don't have any issues basically. So it's up to you. Learn from my mistakes if you will. So we'll create the holes here as well. And we'll go down here and then we will try to link these belts as best we can. Now it doesn't really matter which one goes into which, so we'll just do it as clean as we can. It's already super messy. Yeah, it's very hard to navigate through this subfloor as well. So just do something like that, I guess, is as clean as we're going to get that. Looks a bit weird and janky, but that's what subfloors are for. They're for hiding this sort of janky and messiness. And we need to bring power up here, so let's do that. So it's here. We just bring it up exactly where it is. Which is around here somewhere. That looks like a straight line to me. Bring it in over here and then connect that. And then we need the recipe. All the recipes are now set and they should be producing. So here we have not enough either. We actually need 20 foundries and we only have 16. So we need to overclock 4 of these to increase the output. So we'll just do these for simplicity. Get that up to 200%. These are the 4 that start. We should get the starting ones, not the ending ones. But I think where does the material come in? I'm already confused by my own design. Materials come in here, yeah. So these are the first 4. So these are set to 200% now. That should give us our total 20 machines to produce all of the iron plate. And fantastic. All of that is now done. And now we have 4 more materials in our factory ready to go. And I think that looks pretty sweet. What do you guys think? I think the buildings look quite simplistic, which I don't mind because we are producing pretty simplistic components and we should create simplistic designs for simplistic components. We can do fancy buildings later when we make manufacturers to do all sorts of cool stuff. But for these simplistic buildings that we might need to like double and triple and quadruple one day, we should keep the designs as simple as possible and still make it look decent, right? And fitting into our factory's aesthetics. And I think this does the job pretty well. What do you guys think? This is our little steel campus factory that makes all of our steel products. Now, before we forget what all of these are doing, we should definitely get all of the signs in. Let's start with the steel factory itself. My sign's doing that fun thing where it's never the right direction. Finally got to go in the right direction. There we go. All right, let's add in our sign. So steel ingot. Then we'll add in our text. So we're outputting a full belt of steel ingot, and available is 0. It's being used for iron plate, 300, iron rod, 300, iron wet steel pipe, 300, and steel beam, 300. Now that's not going to be very legible here, is it? There we go. Surprisingly, that's still legible. But yes, that full steel belt is now being used up. So we'll copy this sign over to the other side as well and start labeling all of these and how much they're outputting. All right, all of my signs are in. So just as a reminder, we're outputting 1200 rod, 900 plate, 112 beam, and 300 pipe out of a single belt of steel ingots, as well as a little bit of supplementary iron ingots, which is pretty crazy considering we're producing this whole entire belt of steel ingot out of not even a full belt of iron ingot. So these steel recipes definitely more efficient in creating the output. So if you are looking for alternate recipes, definitely go for these alternate steel recipes. They are much more efficient, even though they do use up some supplementary stuff like concrete and iron ingots. It's definitely more efficient and more space saving to create these alternate recipes than the proper recipes. Now that that is done, the only last thing that we need to do is we need to create some sort of entrance driveway thing into this factory. So this front area is going to be sort of like a pathway into the factory, and eventually later on, I'm going to get rid of this street light. Eventually later on, what's going to happen is we're going to add some truck stops somewhere so that we need to deliver stuff across our factory. For example, this thing should be able to go across the factory this way and deliver our steel products to this side where the sand fluctuators are being made. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, especially since this road drives straight into this train station. We can do an underpass to get it out that way, or we can just get it going around the side here. Doesn't really matter. But for now, let's just tile some of the front, and we'll just use asphalt to denote it. So the entranceway is going to be here. We'll center it, and we can make it 3 tiles wide, I guess, because to make it symmetrical. Let's get our asphalt material and we'll get that going in here. Now somehow it's going to have to split into here. So let's just get that going like this. And this one can go out in like this. Similarly, we can do something on this side. And we can do something like this. Revert this back to concrete. And there we go. There's like a semi-asphalt concrete thing. So we can get road barriers along here. I don't know where I'm going to do the truck stops yet, so that's why I'm not just doing crazy roads here. This isn't really a road based. Like if you think about it, because it doesn't really make sense for a road to go into the factories themselves. I'm just doing this as like decoration sort of. But we'll figure out the truck stops in a future episode. I can't do trucks yet because we're going to need to get fuel over to the truck stops, right? Well, we might do the truck stops this episode. I don't know. We'll see. The trucks are going to be so chaotic because there's no routing like for trains. So they're all just going to basically crash into one another, right? They'll eventually unclip and find their way, but it's going to be hilarious. You guys just wait. Since the episode's gone on for quite a long time and I do want to release an episode for you guys, since I know it's been like a week since my last episode, I will probably just leave it here for now. So we will probably just do some very minor decorations. What I mean by that is I was going to do some decal, go for our patterns, put some zeros on this side, and then we'll do the numbers for the rest. 02, 03, 04. Just some numbering over here to show the 4 different factories are kind of all together. I think that looks pretty cool. I don't know what we can do for here. Like I said, they might be truck stops or whatever. I don't know yet. We'll have to figure that out in a later episode. Maybe they'll be like roundabout U-turn areas. I don't know how I'm going to do that either. We'll have to figure it all out together. The last thing that we need to do before we close out the episode is just add some lighting into here, right? Let's see if my lighting blueprint fits nicely. I just want something simple. Remember, the more complex you build stuff, the harder things get later on. I'm going to get out of blueprint mode. We'll put it straight on the center here. Oh, the black is like, it's like really hard to tell where the center line is on the black. Do we do 2 rows of lighting or just the 1? If we do the 1 row of lighting, then it should be like sort of centered on top of here, right? And the power point should be facing this direction. Oh, where's the power come from? There. All right, that's fine. The power point should be facing this direction. Yeah, that looks about right. Let's just test that out to see if it looks decent. Get that going into there. And there we go. Our factory is nice and lit up now. Fantastic. Now we have some emissive lighting coming from the inside. When it's dark, it'll look a lot better. I was trying to build in here. It was like really, really difficult. Same dealios. That looks about right. Hook that up to there. 2 more buildings to add light to. This building has 2 floors. Got to add light on both. And just got to do the last building now. Hook that light in. And just got to go up to the 2nd floor and finish that off. And if you're wondering about the full black interior, I can't actually paint the floor a different color. Oh, I could, but it's going to be a lot of work involved to change the color of the floor because of the way it clips through everything. I think actually with this hidden by this thing now, we might actually be able to change the color of the floor, but I'm not too sure about that. I tried to change it before and it basically screwed with, it was like so much Z fighting everywhere. Yeah, and that is another disadvantage of using this half foundation thing. We didn't have any of these problems when we were using full foundations. I mean, one of the big advantages of using a half foundation is you get a lot more interior space and the walls look thinner and nicer. But they do come with a lot of building challenges. But I think that's pretty much it for the exterior. We might add some floodlights for the outside. We love our floodlights. I think they look awesome. We might add it like here and here. And we'll just add 2 more like here. We've got to tune these down though, because floodlights are absolutely insane amounts of lighting. Then we'll just power those up. Got to figure out a creative way to power these up, because otherwise there's going to be cables everywhere. I guess we'll just get it going inside this building, right? The wall outlets. And we'll just run this along the side here somewhere. Where is my power? Not this side. Power is on this side somewhere, so we'll run the thing over here if it lets me. That's the closest place it'll let me run it, and then we'll just run it across here. That should be fine. There's our floodlight. Now we don't want it at 100% intensity. I think 30% intensity is plenty. So I'll copy those settings, and I'm going to hook up the power on all of those. And that's the last power connection done. So we should have all our floodlights powered and set to 30%. We might even put them on night mode because I probably don't want these always on. There we go. And I think that's the end of our factory for now. I think it'll look pretty sick once all of the truck stops are in and we finish off the factory. But for now, I think we will leave it for this episode. There's going to be plenty to do. Next episode, we need to get some sort of fuel system before we can put some sort of tractor system into our factory. And once we do that, we can add our tractors, get the materials we need shipped across, and continue our process of building our SAM fluctuators. All of this was just to build SAM fluctuators. I just felt like it was a little bit weird to just build the steel pipes that I needed. It made a lot more sense to build this steel campus and just process all of the steel products that we need to process all in one go. So I think we did a pretty good outcome this episode. I really like the look of this factory. I think it looks pretty sweet and it's nice and simple in design. So we'll leave the rest for another episode. If you've enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like and sub, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.